They've all disappeared. Oh, here we go. Let everybody come in for a minute or so, and then we'll get started. Morning, everybody. I think we'll make a start. Welcome. Hope the sun is shining, although it's a little bit breezy out there this morning. Welcome to the Livemore HiiT session. And we've got Darren and Adrian from Livemore. Just a couple of pieces of housekeeping before we move on. And the first one is about the conference, the TMA conference in November, up at the Vox in Birmingham. So if you haven't registered for that already, get registered. It's a fantastic day. Loads of speakers, panel debates, and stands and stalls to look at as well. And also, it's your chance to vote for the award winners. So if there's a lender that you particularly like and things that you've particularly enjoyed, then that's a great time to show your appreciation and vote for them at the awards. So I'll now pass over to Darren and kind of be your interactive host here and move the slides on and do the videos and things when we need to. So over to you, Darren.
Yeah, thank you very much, Justin. Good morning, everybody. Thanks for the invite. Really appreciate the chance to be able to come and talk to you all about later life and Livemore and how we can help your customers. So, for those of you who don't know, yeah, my name is Darren Cunliffe. I'm the National Account Manager with Livemore. Just to tell you a little bit about Livemore and what we do, just to tee up the presentation. So, yeah, Livemore came to market about 5 years ago. So we are relatively new entrant, but we've grown really, really quickly in a short space of time. When we launched, we just had one product, which was retirement interest only. Year after, term interest only. Year after that, capital and interest. And then last year, we launched an equity release product. So we're the only lender in the UK who works in the over 50 space, because we work exclusively with customers age 50 to 90 plus. That has the full suite of products. And that really helps us to get close to our client base, because all of our products are designed just exclusively for customers aged over 50. So we can really start to understand what it is that they want, and that helps us work out how we can help them. So yeah, if we could just move to the next slide, please. So I think we'll start with a poll question then. So just to kick off to help me pitch this presentation as well, are you confident in supporting your clients with later life lending? Would just be really interesting to find out. Do we have the results for that one, Justin?
Yeah, you got. Can you see them?
Sorry, can you see those?
I can. I just don't know whether you
can. God, do you want to tell me?
So we've got 22% saying yes, I am very confident. 56% saying I am somewhat confident, and 22% saying no, I am not confident.
Okay, so good.
Although that's just changed. We've had another person go down the I am very confident. So that's gone up to 30%.
Okay, so thank you very much. So a nice spread there, I think, is what we've got. So there's a couple of things there. So one, it just helps me understand the audience a little bit, so I can pitch the presentation. There's a section at the end. We are going to try and make this fairly sort of interactive, so it's not just me talking all the way through. There's a section near the end where I'll bring Adrian in. He'll tell you all about himself, and we can open up for some questions and answers. And I'll put some questions to Adrian, but that does sort of help me in how I'm going to position that later on as well. And what I'll do is I'll talk about how we help brokers navigate through this market of later life, because some of the products are perhaps a little bit different than what you're used to. Most people tend to spend the majority of their time in the mainstream, and that's what this is all about. It's an educational piece. So yeah, if we could just move to the next slide, please. So in terms of what we cover, who are Livemore, we've just been through that, but big changes in the later life market. You've probably heard a lot of noise around our sector. It is classed as an emerging market, and just to bring that to life a little bit, there was a report published quite recently from one of the sourcing platforms that said that the mortgage searches for over 50s had increased by 150%. And when we compare that to the searches in the 30 to 50 sector, they'd stay broadly flat. So there's a lot of activity going on. There's a lot of noise around our sector, and some of the traditional routes to market are a little bit challenged at the moment. So PTs have taken over the remortgage world, and the buy to let is perhaps not quite what it was. So brokers are starting to look for other areas, and the later life sector, the over 50s sector, is one that's attracting a lot of attention. So we'll talk about that, and we'll talk about what's going on. In terms of how we can support your clients, yeah, we've touched on it a little bit. Some of the products are a little bit different than perhaps what you're used to, and some of the criteria and the way that we look at our customers and how we can help them. So we'll show you how we help you navigate through that. There's a piece around a software tool that we've built that some of you may have used called Mortgage Matcher, and that's it's really good and really useful. So we'll spend some time on that, and then we'll break for a Q&A, and that's where I'll bring Adrian in. So Adrian, just so you know, heads up our telephone support team. He's been with the business since the beginning, so he's seen all the changes, and he's very much front and center of all the questions that come in day to day from brokers like yourself. So he's a wealth of knowledge. Please have a think about some questions that you can put to Adrian later on. But I think what I'll do is I'll kick that session off by just asking Adrian a couple of questions myself. But we would love you to get involved at that point. Really interesting to see what your thoughts are around this sector and what sort of cases you're getting stuck with and that kind of thing. And then at the end, we'll wrap up with identifying some opportunities. So joining the dots a little bit, bringing to life some of the criteria that we've talked about, and share some case studies. So if we could just move to the next one. So big changes in the later life sector. I think this is like there's three little bits to this, Justine. So yeah, the Consumer Duty, you'll have heard an awful lot about this over the last few years. I'm not going to go into huge amounts of detail because it's been very well documented, but just to pull the main points out that are very specific to our sector. So the FCA report said that they were disappointed in some of their later life advice outcomes. And what did they mean by that? Well, now more than ever, it's essential that affordability assessment is undertaken, and just to spend a little bit of time on that and what that means. So the FCA are not saying that you can't be exclusively an equity release advisor anymore, but what they are saying is that affordability should be the starting point of the journey for a customer. And if you are just looking to advise just purely on equity release, then you need to be able to show that the customer has been through that journey, has been through that advice journey, and started with interest served products. And is that something that they would be interested in, and is that something that is an option for them? And then moving through that advice journey to equity release at the end. As long as you can show that is the process that you've been through, that's fine. And that's something that we can help you with. Again, that leads into Mortgage Matcher, which I'll talk about a little bit later on. Just before we move on to the next slide, to give you a bit of a flavour as to where Livemore sits in the market, around about 15 to maybe 20% of what we do is equity release, and the rest is interest served. And the majority of the interest served stuff that Livemore does is actually capital in interest and what we call TO, so term interest only. just has a start date and an end date. So very much products that you'll be very familiar with. So yeah, just important that we point that out because we do get pigeonholed a little bit as equity release or REO when the majority of what we actually do is standard mortgages. So yeah, if we could just move through to the next one. Just to talk you through the market then and show you the opportunities in the market. So we estimate that the over 50s mortgage market is worth around about 28 billion. But if you see that bigger figure at the top, 2.8 trillion of housing wealth, that's that old phrase of asset rich but cash poor really does come to mind. And when we talk to our customers, it's very common to hear them say, because of my age, I didn't think I could have access to finance. And that's one big thing that Livemore believes in, is that age should not be a barrier to finance. And we help older customers all day, every day, achieve these sort of goals and access this 2.8 trillion that they're sat on. Clearly, that represents a huge opportunity to help your customers, but also a commercial opportunity as well for brokers to get involved in. A big part of that is interest only. So if you see on the top left-hand corner of that slide, 200 billion of interest only is due to mature over the next 10 years. And these are largely interest only mortgages that were taken out in the late 90s, early 2000s. They've moved through the natural lifespan of a mortgage, so 25 to 30 years, and they're all starting to come off now. Now, some of these people will have repayment plans in place, and some of them will downsize or sell, but an awful lot of them are looking to stay in their home. And this is a classic Livemore customer. Sadly, people do tend to leave this right until the last minute. And it becomes quite urgent, but it is very much a growing market. It peaks in 2032. So I'm sure if you haven't already, you will start to hear more and more of this. And if you do get any customers like that, by all means, give us a call, because these are the people that we are helping every day. Next slide, please. So just quickly moving into another poll question. Have you ever used Livemore Mortgage Matcher? Nice, simple one. How are we looking, Justin? I can't see
We're almost there. Just waiting for a couple more people to have an opportunity, and then I shall give you the results. There we go. So the question was, have you ever used the Livemore Mortgage Matcher? Yes, I've used it, 8%. No, I haven't used it, but I do know about it, 42%. I don't know what the Livemore Matchmaker is 54%.
Okay, good. Well, thank you very much for that. Again, this is an educational piece, so that moves us really nicely into the next one, which I think is the short video, is it, Justin? Yeah.
Yeah, right. So this is where my technology skills get tested. So I'm going to have to try and launch the video. So if you bear with me whilst I
So just while Justin's doing that, this is just a little 70-second video just that we've put together just to explain what the Livemore Mortgage Matcher is and how it can help you, and then we'll sort of pick up from there. But essentially, it's a tool that we've designed that just helps you navigate through the later life world and build solutions for your clients rather than thinking solely about products.
Right, so I'm going to give it a go and see if it works. Hopefully you'll...
Uncertain about how to support later life clients? Meet the Livemore Mortgage Matcher, a first-in-kind solution for your 50 to 90 plus customers built with consumer duty in mind. We offer a comprehensive range of mortgage solutions that can accommodate the most complex income streams. Start by entering a few key details into our affordability calculator, and the Livemore Mortgage Matcher crunches the numbers. Our calculator allows you to explore clear options including customer-centric interest rates and maximum borrowing amounts. The Livemore Mortgage Matcher is already making a splash. Almost half of brokers have been able to provide both improved solutions to their customers and increased borrowing limits, whilst increasing successful applications by a third. At Livemore, we're all about giving your 50 to 90 plus clients a service with bells and whistles, so you can confidently offer solid advice, a top-notch experience, and best value rates. Don't delay. Take the Livemore Mortgage Matcher for a spin today. Livemore, your go-to lending partner for all clients aged 50 to 90 plus.
Thanks for that, Justin. That went quite well.
I'll be adding that to my CV now, actually. Right, let's try and bring up the PowerPoint
So
presentation again.
just while Justin's doing that, hopefully what you took from that is just a really short video just to try and explain what it is. Essentially, it's just an affordability calculator with a piece of AI, a piece of technology that sits behind it. If you could
give me 2 seconds and I'll
So what we realized before we had the mortgage matcher was that mortgage brokers were coming to us perhaps with specific products in mind, and they would key the affordability calc for a specific product, and when they got to the end, maybe they didn't get the result that they wanted, and that's where the engagement finished. That's where they sort of walked away when we knew that we had a solution, just on a different product. So what we've tried to bring to life is that when you key the affordability calc, we tell you the solutions that you can get. So that essentially the max borrowing that you can get on all of our products. And we've seen quite well, there you go, that's the slide. So we've seen a 41% increase from declined cases to accepted cases, and that has, since we've brought this in, that's really sort of pushed an awful lot of business into Livemore. We've grown in size, we've doubled in size in 12 months. And a large part of that is just how we've started to connect up these solutions and move brokers away from thinking about products where they perhaps weren't getting the results that they were looking for. So if you've not used it, hopefully you'll give it a go. A lot of brokers now are starting to use it as a starting point in their advice journey. So if you think back to what we was talking about at the beginning, the consumer duty and how it's all about affordability, and demonstrating that you've researched and that you can show this, so you can print the results off and stick it on file. And brokers are using that now as like a first stop, if you like, to show that they've taken the customers through the advice journey. So it's really useful on quite a few different fronts. Could just move to the next one, please. And I think we'll flip over to Adrian's section. So warm welcome to Adrian. If you could just move on to the next slide, please, Justin. Yeah, so really quick introduction, but I'll let Adrian do most of it. So Adrian heads up our telephone sales team. He's been with the business for 4 years, so well, since the beginning. So he's seen an awful lot of changes, but the really important bit is Adrian sees all the challenges and all the struggles that brokers like yourself have with cases all day, every day, and he gets involved and gets his hands dirty and gives you all these great outcomes. So Adrian, if you could
hi guys, thanks for letting me come on today. Just like a little bit of background about myself. I've been in the industry for over 20 odd years, BDM for Northern Rock Virgin for my sins, and then Bank of Ireland. Like Darren said, looking after Livemore sales team now. And I think one of the things that Darren mentioned, and I probably get on average probably 2 or 3 inquiries a day on this, is that literally someone comes to the end of their interest only mortgage, the likes of some of the higher, like Santander's, nationwide are all asking for their money back, and the clients got no outlet, basically. So one of the things that we can look at, our affordability is probably one of the best in the market, and we look at all forms of income. But I think with that one, you've got someone who's in their mid-60s and still working, we can look to take that income, dependent on the value of the property, up to 75, even 80, depending on their job. So what it does, it gives them an opportunity of taking another interest-only mortgage, perhaps for another 5, 10, 15 years, until such time as they may want to do an extra release or downsize. So that's one of our main USPs, if you like. One of the other things on the affordability, which I always think is great, is that we use ONS figures for our when we're calculating. We don't actually ask for food bills, utility bills. The only thing we want to know is the council tax and any maintenance charges if it's a leasehold property. So there's a few things there. We look at all sorts of income, like I said. We look at uncrystallised pensions, future income, and we'll also look at rental income.
Cheers, Adrian. So I think this is really important part of the session, and if anybody else has got questions, we'd welcome questions at this point. I think just to pick up on a couple of things that you've said there, and affordability is huge for Livemore, isn't it? I think we don't have an LTI cap for like, just as an example. It's quite common to see sort of 6.5, 7 times, sometimes income. But something your team does really, really well, in conjunction with Mortgage Matcher, is making cases work that perhaps on the face of them didn't seem to work. And that's largely around affordability. And I hear you guys talk about things like taking SVR out of the equation, matching terms to fixed rate terms, things like that. Is that something?
Yeah, that's what we do. We've got Darren mentioned obviously this TO product, the term interest only one. That's a great product. I mean, a lot of it's based on the value of the property, the equity in it. However, what's good about that product is we don't look at stress testing first death. We can take both incomes right up to whatever their retirement age is. So that gives us a massive amount of flexibility for the client, especially if the brokers come back and said that they're only looking for a 2, 5, or 10-year fixed rate. Then obviously that's the sort of product we can do. And if you noticed, actually the rates are actually lower on that one. That's our if you like, our headline product. So sorry, Darren, go on.
No. So, yeah, that's great, Adrian. So and I think what you just said then. So as an example, like taking a 10-year fixed and running a 10-year term, that quite often helps, doesn't it? Where on a TO, because then the term matches the fixed rate, and our affordability is linked to your ability to pay, so it takes the SVR out of the equation, doesn't it? That's and
then just to put some more meat on the bones on that one. If you've done one of the online calculations with us, or you've done it on the portal, and it's come up with a figure that you're not recognizing, or perhaps it's not what you expected, give us a call, because sometimes it could be something quite simple. I get situations where we ask for, prime example, we ask for what's the annual council tax. So I've had some where people have actually put an extra 0 in, and we've ended up like 15,000, and it's thrown out. You go back in, look at it, and realize it was only £1,500 for the year, and then obviously we get the borrowing that the client requires. So anything which you don't feel like looks right, give us a call. We'll talk through it. I can look at it from my end as well.
Great. Do we have any questions, Justin?
Just to tell people, if you've got a question, there's either put it in the chat box, or there's a question and answer bit as well. So please, if you've got a question, chuck something down in there, and then we can answer it. Interestingly, I was with a firm on Monday this week, and he was just saying about how later life lending in general is absolutely becoming such a big part of his business. and it's just slowly crept up on him, and he's so glad that he's now ahead of the game, as it were, that he's already doing it. He's not having to refer it elsewhere. He's, he's fully immersed in it. And I think he's always someone who, and he's been in the business for a long, long time, and he's always someone that prides himself on kind of knowing where the market's going to a certain extent. And he said he's got this right. So I think anybody that's a little bit not sure should just jump in and just start looking at it and getting involved, because it's just going to be such a massive part of the market, isn't it? And every time we see stats coming out, it's bigger than it was last year. It's taken up a bigger percentage of the overall lending in the market than previously. So it's definitely the place to have some knowledge and interest in.
I think also, Justin, I mean, we've said about the TIO, the standard, term interest product. But if you have got a client who's looking at the RIO, retirement interest only, and they're looking for a lifetime fix or the security of having that product for the rest of their lives, one of the things that, we are quite good on the incomes. Prime example is if someone's got buy-to-lets in the background, they got, as long as we can see an SA 302 to show they're paying tax, we work on the annual rental income and the annual mortgage payments. But what's good about that one is that the calculators would assume that if either one of the clients passed away, if it's a joint application, the other one will carry on getting that rental. So that really helps on a RIO post-retirement.
I think income is definitely one where we stand out. So just coming back to what you were saying there, Justin, I think that is something that I hear all the time. So there's a couple of things there. There's one, you talked about referring elsewhere. They're opportunities that you're just missing out on that somebody else is doing for you. So we just come directly to us and we'll be able to help you. But people are living longer, and because people are living longer, people are working longer. So we can take retirement ages up to age 80. We use income all the way up to age 80. There's instances where we can use income post-retirement. So we self-employed people have got their own limited company and continue to take dividends and things like that. So there's all sorts of higher level complex stuff that we can do. But your client bank matures with you as over time. We see and hear that an awful lot, but it definitely is the growing sector within the industry that we're working in.
Got a question, which is in terms of the qualifications versus the different segments of later life, and I use later life to encompass kind of the whole shooting match, really. It incorporates a number of different areas, doesn't it? Would you be able to very simply explain what additional qualifications you need to do, which particular part of later life lending, and what you can do as just a normally regulated qualified mortgage broker?
Yeah, sure. I mean, it's really simple answer. For the majority of our products, you don't need any qualifications to do them. So your standard products, your capital and interest, your TOs, your term interest only, they literally are just your standard normal products. So nothing at all. But even your RIO, there's no specific qualification that you need for a retirement interest only. Retirement interest only is an interest served mortgage that is essentially open-ended. It just gets repaid on death or when you go into long-term care. But in terms of a specific qualification, industry qualification, you don't need one. I suppose then it then depends on your sales process within the environment that you work. Whether you're part of a network or DA or whoever, but yeah, no qualifications for that. Equity release is different. Lifetime mortgages, that is different. You do need qualifications for that. But yeah, the bulk of what we do now, no, nothing needed.
Brilliant, thank you for answering that. So if anyone's got any other questions, do chuck them in one of the two boxes, and then I'll endeavour to ask it if there's anything else that comes in. As I say, talking to this guy on Monday, that another thing he said is that he does still get the odd client who is just not interested because of the history of what this market had kind of 20 years ago and the bad name. He says, but it's becoming fewer and fewer. He says, and now it's a rarity compared with, he says he's been doing this quite a long time. Understood the market, he says, and going back a number of years, there was always, you'd almost expect people to say, yeah, but it's this old bad product you had. It says now there's the odd one. So again, it seems like the public are getting much more in tune with borrowing into later life. I can't remember what were they called, those really horrible mortgages from the
horrible mortgages.
Reversion mortgage.
Yeah, that was the one, wasn't it?
Funny enough, though, Justin, if you do the exam, the ER exam, they still ask you about them, and it's about 1% of the market now.
Yeah,
It's crazy, absolutely crazy. But I think just going on from that, I think from a generic point of view, unfortunately, RIOs, retirement interest only mortgages, has got that generic name, whereas what we're trying to put over is you don't necessarily have to be retired to do one.
Yeah.
It's unfortunately that's what brokers take with them on the RIO. Because of that generic name which it's linked to.
And I think I've been in the industry for about 30 years. And when I first started, it was a case of you took a 25-year mortgage out, and that didn't go past state retirement, say. Well, you look at where we are now, even in the mainstream world, you get mainstream lenders quite comfortable to go to 70. And then you get lenders like ourselves, we're comfortable to go to 75, 80. So it's just changed, hasn't it? It's developed, it's grown. My parents bought their house in the late 60s. They took a 25-year mortgage out, paid it off, and stayed in the same house for all their lives. Like it has changed, it has developed, hasn't it? It's a lot more fluid.
We've done a mortgage on a RIO for somebody in their 90s. We've got them at age.
Yeah.
It's down to the client, really.
If you just want to flip to the next slide, Justin, I'll just share some examples, and then just to help sort of bring to life a little bit about what we've been talking about. So these are cases that we've actually completed. So you perhaps heard us touch a little bit around self-employed, maybe talk a little bit more about that. But so this particular client was 55, so he had a couple of challenges. One was his age. The other way was that he was self-employed. As you can see, he ran his own accountancy firm, but his income was based on retained profit. He was only drawing out what he needed, and he was looking for £1 million. And nobody wanted to do it, and interest only as well. But we did it, and we completed it. So we completed on £1 million loan, gave him a 10-year fixed rate at 65% LTV, and that scenario was perfectly fine with us. There's no challenges there whatsoever. So I suppose to expand out a little bit around self-employed, maybe Adrian might want to comment. But it's a huge area of what we do, because what we find is, of the customers that are still working, a large percentage of those are self-employed. Perhaps that links into the interest-only element of what we do. I don't know. But so we'll do 1 year self-employed, 1 year's trading, retain profits. We can work with directors' loans. You'll have heard Adrian talk about buy-to-let. We can use buy-to-let surplus income. We just use the gross rental. We don't use the figure that's on the SA 302. You'll hear self-employed people talk about their businesses, their pension. I touched on it a little bit. So if somebody is a director of a limited company, they take a backward step at retirement, but continue to take the dividends. We can take the dividends and factor those into the affordability equation. So there's loads of really cool stuff that we can do around income and the complex stuff, but where we really excel is on self-employed. And then when you connect the self-employed piece to what Adrian talked about before, which is affordability and affordability enhancements, this is where you start to understand why you come to Livemore, and why and how Livemore helps you put those solutions together. So that's a really good example. I think we've got one more, and then we'll just open up the floor. And this is perhaps something that we haven't really touched on, Adrian. So this Livemore is quite willing to take higher risk look at property. This particular one, again, this is a case that we took in and completed and was fine with. So the challenges again were age. So the customer is 62 in this instance, looking for 300,000 on £500,000 property. We was happy to do it. A 5-year fixed rate. This one was a RIO, so retirement interest only, but the property was next to a pub, and we have a bit more of a broader view around sort of next to commercial and non-standard types of property and things like that. Would you think it's fair to say, Adrian, that you see non-standard property?
Yeah, we get
you get an
awful lot of inquiries around non-standard property. I mean, basically, we always, wherever possible, sometimes if it's an unusual one, we ask the broker just to email the details in. We can have a look at it then. We got the ability to send it up to underwriters to have a look at as well. Obviously, a lot of these are subject to various comments eventually, but we will look at, like Darren said, near commercial, opposite railway tracks, things with pylons in the garden. We can look at stuff in flood zones, lots of different avenues, especially, and also construction. There's an awful lot of different types of construction, as you can imagine, throughout the country, different wimpy no fines, lang easy form, all those sort of types of construction we can look at. And we have got the ability, I've got the ability to talk to an underwriter or send a form up to an underwriter. We get replies fairly quickly just to make sure that the broker's aware of, whether we can accept it or not. So yeah, I mean, we're quite flexible with that. We got a really good small, if you like, well, not small, reasonably decent size underwriting team, which will help us through any questions that we don't know, because you're always going to get curveballs. So, in that instance, it's always best to either pick up the phone or send an email.
Yeah. And I think we did one next to a prison once as well, didn't we? So that's that tells everybody all they need to know about what we can do, I think, on non-standard property stuff. So that's kind of everything. That's sort of where we are. Are there any other questions for anybody who would like to ask at this stage?
His last chance to just stick them in the box, then I'll get them asked. But I think just want to say thank you guys for coming along and presenting that, and thank you for listening. And I think just to say, I'd go back to this conversation on Monday, it's going to be such a big part of the market going forward. So the fact that you're on here listening is great news. And for those of you that this is one of the first steps, you've done the right thing. And for those of you that are well conversed in this, I think it just shows that this is the way the market is going to be. And you need to be holistic, don't you? You need to, other than your kind of 20-year-old first time buy, it almost needs to be a consideration for every mortgage you do as to where it's going. I think I took my first mortgage out when I was 18. And you can probably tell I've done my 25 years and I've still got some time left. And I think that's the way, to make it affordable these days, isn't it?
I think, Justin, can I just come in on that? We touched on this about, someone taking an interest-only mortgage out in their 40s. Because normally what tends to happen is they take out in their 40s because they've got a couple of children now, they want a bigger home. Affordability-wise, they haven't carried on the 25-year term, they've taken a new 25-year term. And 25 years later, the existing mortgage company are saying we want our money back. Eventually, the clients originally were saying, well, okay, when we get to 65, we're selling downsize. It doesn't happen because it's a family home. Their children were brought up there. All their friends are living around that area and they want to stay in that property. And that's where we help them out. That's a prime example. It makes so much
sense because moving to a smaller house when you've got years worth of clutter is difficult at the best of time. But you add in the fact that the people are probably 70 or something like that, and it just becomes a horrible thought for them, doesn't it? And they keep putting it off, and then suddenly it's too late. So it just, a lot of people want to stay in the house, don't they?
Yeah. Can I just ask, are these guys, the people on this webinar, have they registered with us, or are they going to, just to explain where to register?
We'll get a list over to you at the end. I so we'll have a list of people that have attended, so we can get that over, and you can always follow things up with them and just, you know, give them a little bit more info and stuff like that. So that'll be really useful. Cool.
Okay, thanks.
Good. If there's nothing else, I just want to say thank you to coming along and listening, and thank you to you two for presenting today. It's been really useful. So yeah, hopefully it will carry on and go well, and we'll speak to you all soon. Thank
you all very much
guys.
today. Thank you. Bye bye.